good until I'm like 50.
Well, you got it all set then.
Yeah. That's how I see it.
All right, here we go.
You're listening to Inside Real Estate, your source for all things mortgage and real estate related. The show that brings you all the hottest topics and insights directly from those who know it most. Now sit back and enjoy the show.
Just let it go. Yeah, there we go. That's a good beat. What's up, everyone? Good morning. Paul Paslakis here. I've got Salvatore Kuzmano. I've got Bradley Weisgerber. How's it going, boys?
Bradley?
Pretty good.
Yeah, your name's
Bradley, yeah.
My mother calls me that.
Well, she should
Now
call
we
you
do
more.
too.
It's odd.
So we've got some special guests here, the Adobe boys. We got Simon Thomas, John Leonis. How's it going, guys?
It's going well. Thanks for having us on the show.
Yes, thank you very much.
Awesome. So for everybody that's listening, please go to iTunes, subscribe, review us, go to Stitcher, go to Google Play, go to Podcast Detroit, go to our website, irepodcast.com. We appreciate all the support. We've been getting a lot of good feedback. Surprisingly, our boys in Sweden, I'd like to hear from you. You guys are listening to our show quite a bit. So yeah, we've got Adobe here. You guys obviously work, and Simon, you started the company Adobe. Give us some background real quick, just because I want you to frame, what you guys are all about, and I do want you to answer the $1 million question that I get asked: what does Adobe mean? That's like a question I get quite a bit about you guys.
So, yeah, we started Adobe we started our own brokerage back in February. Background on my story a little bit. I've been in real estate. This is my 7th full year. Mm-hmm. When I first got into real estate, I was doing a lot of Detroit housing, REO properties for $1. We sold a lot of properties.
Wow.
It was crazy.
For $1.
And for $1. And the banks just wanted to get rid of them. They would, pay us to get rid of them. I went to work with a cousin who was just cranking in Detroit. And it was the best experience of my life. It taught me a lot about real estate, a lot about transactions. We were doing 400 homes a year.
Wow.
So I learned that, you're dealing with an area where, these people don't have bank accounts. They don't have emails. The banks, the paperwork for the banks was stacks of paper. So after about a year of doing that, I decided to go off on my own and start selling real estate, and just went off on my own and started marketing myself and branding myself within my sphere. And I just took off. It was something that was just a natural thing for me. I mean, that year was I was all on my own, and I did a significant amount of business. And I learned that it's actually harder to close a $1 property because of those challenges without emails and bank accounts and meeting up with people and getting all that paperwork signed. And I went into this other market, and it just kind of came naturally to me. And I'm the type of person I get bored. So I was doing this on my own. Then went over to another company. I went to Maxbrook in Birmingham and grew my business, a significant amount of business in a short period of time. Hired my first hire, which was Rena. She's basically my right arm. And after about 3 years of doing that, I'm giving you the long of the short story, but found John. John was a friend of ours. We grew up together. Needed a buyer's agent, needed somebody to help. We were doing a lot of transactions. And I really, between the three of us, we started this little culture, and it was a lot of fun coming to work. And I realized, you know what, this is special. This is cool. And I know we're growing so rapidly. Why don't we look into growing a team? And then that's what got me into KW. I went to KW, grew a 12-person team within a year. The challenges of that was unbelievable. Major ups and downs, but it taught us, a lot about the business and a lot about motivating others and what this business is all about. And after about a year of doing that, I said, you know what, we're running our own company anyways. We're running our own team. We have the overhead of a company. We might as well do our own thing. And in February of this year, we started our own deal. Now, where did Adobe come from? When I was back in Detroit selling those homes, my cousin found a Doberman statue and put it on my desk. And wrote Employee of the Month on it, and it was missing an ear.
Oh,
it was missing an ear, and it was a good luck charm, and I really took it serious. And my business has always doubled every year since I had this. So when we started growing a team, if you had a good month, I'd put it on your desk, and we'd call you the top dog for the month. When we were thinking of going off on our own, we locked everybody into a room and we're like, look, we're not leaving until we have a name.
Yeah, that's a hard thing to come up with, by the way.
Yeah.
It's
very hard.
Trust me,
Really hard.
It was
we had a
hard.
That's
time
probably
with
the best way to do it.
Yeah, it was hard, and we wanted something different. Everything's you're throwing out things like signature and legacy and empire and all these things that everybody already has. We couldn't own the domain, and me and our marketing manager will actually argue and debate about this. But who came up? We do this all day long. Who came up with the actual name? But he actually said, what about the Doberman statue? And I said, Dobie, short for Doberman. And when you look up the characteristics of a Doberman, it's strong, loyal, all these things that you would want as a hardworking, like all these things you would want as a person. So half the team was like, I don't like it. The other half was like, I liked it. I said, take 24 hours and we'll think about it. And this part of the story is kind of sad, but I had a Doberman at the time. This dog was my baby. She was the best thing in the world. And went home that day, January 4th, and she actually passed away that day.
Oh my God!
The day we came up with Dobie. So I sat there and I said, this is a sign I'm weird like that, and we're naming the company Dobie. So we went from there, and we came back. We could own the domain. It was a 4-letter word. And then our marketing manager just took it to another level.
Yeah.
He took the D and chopped the edge off of it, so it represents missing the ear on the statue. It's black and copper like a Doberman. So that's the story behind it.
That's really interesting. And I know, John, when we talked, we talked about the name and all that, and I know that you believe in kind of the philosophy of the company quite a bit. And the one thing that's cool about your office is I looked at the wall. So I've been in their office. You guys have a really, really nice office in Birmingham, Michigan. And you look at the wall, and there's all these characteristics, I think it is, right? I don't know. Core values of who you are, basically defining who you are. It's really, really cool. So you guys are creating a really good brand within the company.
Well, I mean, there's two things that we really want to differentiate ourselves, or two audiences that we want to differentiate ourselves to. One is to other agents, and the other would be to our buyers and sellers. So we came up with core values that would appeal to both. And I think the culture of our company really is something that is different than larger, more established companies. And we have a tight-knit group that can come to work, feel great about being in the office, and project the positivity and the success and the expertise to our clients, our buyers and sellers.
So that segues to my next question, and this is, I think, a big thing. There's a lot, dude. There's just so many real estate agents, so many teams in our industry. I think I read a stat. There's more real estate agents today than ever before, right, in the country. It's difficult in this huge pack of the same people to differentiate yourself. So just in a few words, guys, what makes Dobie different? You know what I mean? What is going to set you apart? Why would a real estate agent want to work at your company? Why would a person buying or selling their house want to work with your company?
So we get that question all the time because we're recruiting and people walk into our office, and that's their number one question: what makes you different? And this really was something that was very important to me when starting our own brokerage. Before even going off on our own, I used to always stay up at night thinking, what makes us different? What makes us different? And then I started thinking about what made my business different. In a 5-year period, I grew a pretty big business as 32 years old, 28 to 32, 33, that most agents don't even do in 5 or 6 years worth of selling. I was doing in a year. And I'm not saying that to be arrogant or anything, but I thought, what makes me different? I'm not the best looking dude. I'm a bigger guy. I didn't wear suits every day to work. I mean, I just grinded every day. Yeah. But what really made me different was relationships. And that's really what we're all about, is relationships. And a lot of people say that relationship service, that's what we're all about. But we really get down to the nitty gritty of relationships. So we're pretty tailor-made. I'm a big-time golfer, and I belong to a country club, and I get a lot of business from that. And I didn't go there because of that. I enjoy golfing. I never talk about my work, and when I'm there, and I be myself, and it turns into relationships, and it turns into deals. And when we sit down with agents, we say, what do you like to do? Okay, at the end of the day, we got to tailor-made your business and what you like to do. John's big into church. John likes playing poker, so he does a poker night, and gets guys together and smokes cigars and has poker nights. And we really make agents think like a business owner, because that's what they are. Yeah. Agents come into our office all the time, and we're crazy about the numbers. We call them scorecards. So we watch a handful of numbers on a daily basis. my attitude is if you were to go buy a Subway, right? You know exactly what the franchise fees are. You know how much salami is. You know how much the soap is that goes into the bathrooms. I mean, you know these numbers to a T. Why? Because Subway has trained these franchisees on all of these things. Well, when I started talking to agents, when I was at big brokerages, they would all walk into my office, want to know what's going on, how are you doing this, how are you growing your business, and the first question I would ask was, what was your volume this year? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? I don't know. It's 5-6 million.
That happens all the time. That happens all the time.
What do you mean? Well, 5-6 million. Well, what was it? Was it 5? Was it 5.25? Was it? What was it? I don't know. How many units you did? I don't know. 20, 22.
Maybe.
Yeah, and that's like, you're not a business, man. Like, but you're doing business, but you're not a business. You got to start thinking like a business. You got to understand where your deals come from. You got to understand if you do 40 units, where do they all come from? Are you spending money on Zillow and you're only doing 5 deals a year and 35 are from your Sphere? Why are you spending money on Zillow? Let's move some more money towards Sphere. Let's entertain more people. So we are really constantly preaching that. Is there one word that makes us different? No. You walk into our office and you feel it, and these agents come in and they all ask that, and they're all like waiting for that $1 million, that one nugget that's going to change. It's not. It's the culture that makes us different. It's the way we think that makes us different. Our training, our technology is all put together to make agents better. That's what we spend our time on, and to keep that close-knit feel as we grow. So we have a manager for every 27 agents, so you can't get lost. We're talking to you constantly. So that's really what makes us different. I know it was a long answer, but I don't know if you can add to that, John.
Well, from the aspect, and I think that you've covered really what makes our agency different inside the 4 walls, and from a buyer and seller's perspective, the people that are our clients, we don't see this as a transaction. We see it as a relationship to build. And there's so many different lead sources in real estate that an agent can go after. I mean, there's so many that you can be really scattered, but if you focus on building and growing the relationships that you currently have and the ones with the buyers and sellers that you're working with, then it's less about a transaction. It's way more about aligning yourself with their goals and their dreams, their vision. And after the sale takes place, we usually end up friends. We usually keep in touch with everybody we work with.
And Sal, we kind of struggle with this too, because we could be a transactional business, right? Mm-hmm. We could buy leads and just fire through them, and just the client doesn't really matter. They're just a number. And a lot of companies are like that, even in real estate and mortgages, they're very similar. But we made a decision early on as well, just to make sure that relationships are the most important things.
Right. Well, they'll last upon any Zillow contract, things like that, right?
But it's harder.
It's way harder.
It
takes a lot more time and a lot more sweat equity, right? I mean, I think that's the hardest part for someone to buy into, is the sweat equity of their business, realizing that it might take 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years. I mean, there's people who, when I first started doing this, that are just now like, all right, let's do business, right?
Yeah.
So it's
a relationship.
Yeah,
it takes
it's tough,
a long
and you got to
time.
build it, and you got to stay on top of it. And this isn't about closing deals. This is about running a business.
It's a
right?
lifestyle.
I mean,
we're in sales. I mean, I tell agents this all the time. This is a lifestyle. So it's never turned off. The agents that think they're going to work from 9 to 5, it's not going to work. You need to get out of this business.
You got to go home.
So it's constantly, you can never turn it off. Why? Because on a Sunday when you run to Kroger really quickly to go pick up, some groceries for 5 minutes, and you're in your sweats and you run into somebody, there's a good chance you could meet somebody that you haven't seen in a while, and I saw your social media page, and you got to be able to. It's 24/7. I mean, the phone's constantly ringing, and we tell agents at Adobe, if you're down for that, then you can fit here. But if you're not down for that,
not gonna work,
that's the number one thing.
It's not going to work.
So,
I mean, that's part of owning a business, right? People don't realize, it's funny too on our side when people come in and they're like, well, I'm going to come in at 9, leave at 6, and
don't call me.
I'll send secret texts from different phone numbers.
This
like,
is the
hey,
funniest thing. Sal does this.
I'll send them like, hey man, I want to do a Mishta loan, blah blah blah, and we don't.
10 hours go by
or whatever, but it's like,
shops.
yeah. And then I'll get a text the next morning, and I'm like, dude,
Sal,
do you want to do this,
That's bad.
or do you not? You know,
That's what keeps
no
Sal up at
offense to
night.
someone who got that secret text earlier, but
No, lots of offense.
Yeah, lots of.
Yeah.
Lots of offense. Sal means it.
Not a bad idea.
You know, it's a good
test.
Play better.
how committed are you, right? And you have to ask yourself that. I mean, you don't have to prove it to me. Your numbers will.
To quote Jay-Z,
It's a scorecard.
I'm a businessman, right? Like that, like you have to be a business. Like you have to look at everything that you do as a business, and that doesn't mean you've got to be slimy or be like, sneak. Like literally, if you're just a good human and you like get to know people and they know what you do and you take care of people, that's way more powerful than being like, hey, so today I've got a rate. Like get off that. Like I'm out on that.
Well, and if you put yourself in that mindset, sorry to cut you off, but it doesn't feel bad to answer your phone on a Sunday. Because it's for your business.
Right.
It's not like, oh, crap. I mean, I'm not getting paid to
And
do
it doesn't
You are.
discount being an expert and growing in the knowledge that you have. I mean, getting completely immersed within real estate or mortgages, whatever it might be, is so important. And then you're a good human on top of that, and you are sincere about your relationships.
Yeah.
And it's not just about the money.
Sincerity is really important.
Absolutely.
I really do. I think it's important. Okay, so moving on. I think something you guys are doing really well is you guys utilize social media quite well. I mean, you guys are doing a really good job with that. Your guy who's doing all your stuff. I mean, it's clean. Your website's awesome. Talk to me about the importance and what the mentality is for you guys to put an emphasis on that part of the business.
So the business is, I mean, the world is changing, right? I mean, obviously social media is been big for a while. I mean, no, it's not any surprise, but I'm seeing that this industry is changing because when you see a lot of the top agents in town, they're older, okay? Like they're in their, late 50s, 60s, and they're killing it, and they're doing big numbers, and they're doing things old school. And I remember, 4 or 5 years ago, like you still had to be in magazines to give yourself credibility, and that wasn't that long ago. Well, our marketing manager Vince, he said, he was like, look, we have to have a crazy presence on social media. And I said, do your thing, dude. Let's go.
Yeah.
And I realized that a lot of these bigger agents now are starting to hire people to get involved, to start doing things in that segment. And I learned that what social media does is you definitely do transactions because of it, but it gives you credibility. It makes you a human being. You
Humanizes
can't,
you.
you can't be 100% sell, right? So, the rule of thumb, and you can hear, there's probably all different ways to look at this, and everybody has a different idea of it. But, I always say 80%, educational, 20% promotional. So, we try to do that. It's not just houses, a new house for sale, price reductions. Like those don't work. But, Vince did a unbelievable job of making Adobe look and look relatable, and I think that's been our success on it. And when we did it a little bit, and now we're doing a lot more because it's really working. We're getting away from print, and we're learning that our age demographic from 25 to 50, and I'm sorry if I'm offending anybody, are on social media. It's where it's at. They're throwing away the print ad. It's giving us credibility within our sphere. And when we are at that grocery store on a Sunday, I see you do real estate. I follow you on Instagram.
Yeah.
And that's when we build that turn them into a relationship and turn it into a transaction. So it's been successful for us.
You said something kind of. I just want to reinforce that you said it's 80% educational, 20% promotional. It's everyone listening out there. That is key because you want to add value. We talk about it all the time. How do we add value? How do we add value?
Yeah.
It's not just about, hey, I do
Give me a
mortgages, do
call,
business
give
with
me
me,
a call,
call
give me
me,
a call,
call me.
give
I
me a
got low
call.
rates.
Yeah.
No, add value, and then you get it back. Like you got to benefit them to get the rewards.
And to a side note, kind of a little off topic, but it's kind of crazy to think now how long people have been on social media, right? So when you do think about that and you think of the demographics that they wouldn't be on there, I mean, someone who is 30 years old is now 40 on Facebook, right?
Bro, my
And
mom's on Facebook. She doesn't know how to read or write.
It's
She's
kinda
Arabic.
What's crazy, too, is, I mean, all these people who are like, I don't know, just turning
emojis.
30, right? They could be so far advanced in their career as to where they were 10 years ago. You can scroll back and see them in college.
Which for you.
doing
is
that
not
I
a
would
good
not
thing.
Yeah, no, I
recommend.
know. But it's crazy. I mean, think
It's
another
true.
5 years. It's like, hey, you're up for CFO.
Oh, and
then they scroll back and see you doing keg stands at it. It's kind of like, it's crazy.
in a lot of ways, it's a new literacy as well. Learning it, and
It's a whole different language.
Yeah, and people are figuring it out. But
Yeah.
it's also changing, and having somebody who's coaching our agents at Dobie on how to adapt to it as it changes is also a big plus.
That's powerful.
I mean,
We're busy selling. We're busy out with our clients, showing homes and going to listing appointments, and it's sometimes difficult to keep up. And having somebody sort of coach us along and say, okay,
Put you on a schedule.
right.
Listen, dude, we're making a video.
haven't
Listen,
seen
dude, yeah.
you post in about 8 days
What's
or so.
going on, yeah.
Let's get going. Let's
Yeah.
you had this great listing. Put that up there. Share this. It's it's helpful. And the person at our company isn't doing it all for us, but he's certainly coaching us and pointing us in the right direction and giving us the boost that we'd otherwise wouldn't have. So
Yeah.
it's good to have that aspect at Dobie.
Awesome. So I do want to talk about there's two things I want to get into. I want to get into interest rates and where the market is today, and get your feeling on what you think that effect has on everything. And then we're going to do something called 3 questions. We're going to ask you guys each 3 questions. It'll be the same question. You guys will answer them. It'll be fun. We'll have a little fun with it. They're not going to be like weird or like would you rathers or anything. I've been known to make weird questions.
Would you rather?
So listen, interest rates are at a 7-year high, guys. I mean, it's the reality of where we're at.
That's crazy. That script flipped quickly, right? Because we've been talking about all-time low rates, all-time low, 20-year low.
But it's not crazy.
Now
I've been saying it for a year.
Well, and I
7-year
believe
high.
that the
been saying it
crying
for-
wolf
but they were
over the
that
past
low.
3 years, right? Like
Yeah.
last year, rates are going up. Rates are going up. They went up 10 bips, or 0.1, like effectively. But just a month ago, September 12th, I was looking at something yesterday. Rates were like 4.78. Average rate today is 5.1.
Yeah.
I mean, it flipped over a quarter and just.
It's quite a bit in our industry. That's a big movement, but I think they're going to keep going. I've been right quite a bit, but they're going to keep going up.
Toot.
I'm going to toot my horn. I'm trying to tell everybody. Oh, by the way, Tony Raffin says hello, Simon. He just texted me. Yeah.
Tony.
Yeah, what up, Tony? He's watching right now.
And it sounds crazy to us and people probably between the ages of 25 and 45, but I mean, the generation before that remembers rates at 10 to 19%.
Yeah, dude, we're
That
still
was the
fine.
norm.
We're
That's
fine.
insane.
The rates are fine. I really don't think they're bad, but it does create. So here's what I think happens. This is my opinion. Rates go up and people freak out. They're like, "Oh, they're too high," right? Because they're so jaded, and then it becomes a new normal, and then everything keeps going on. Like people are still going to buy. But I guess my question for you guys is: do you believe that higher rates is going to be like this huge detriment to the market, or do you believe it's just going to be like something that we got to get used to?
I believe it's something that is fine. I think it's going to be great for the market. We have listings right now, so I don't want to talk bad about it. But these sellers are they're a lot out of hand right now. You walk into a listing appointment and they want
The world.
They want the world, and it's like, look, at only 5-6 years ago, your house was worth 40% less. So your house is not worth what you're saying it's worth. We need to sell it. So I think it's going to soften the market on the selling side, which is great because there are a lot of buyers. I mean, people always need a place to live, right? So in the 80s when it was at 19 or
People
you
still
know,
bought
20,
houses.
Yeah, they need homes. So I think it's going to be good. I think 5, 6, 7% is still extremely low. And at the end of the day, it's what's it going to do to the market? Is it going, as a salesperson, we can have these conversations with sellers now, and we say, look at, buying power weekends when the interest rate goes up. That last year it was 4%. That $300,000 buyer might be down to $250 now.
Yeah.
So that's everybody's gonna feel it a little bit, including yourself. But we need to adjust your pricing, and if you can't, that's fine. You need to then you can't afford to sell right now.
Right.
But this is what it is. And I think what's going to happen is we're going to start negotiating more, which instead of highest and best and I want asking price, I think houses are going to sit on the market for 30 to 60 plus days, which is fine. And I think we're going to it's going to help on the market a little bit personally.
And in the short term, really right now is a great time to buy, knowing that the interest rates probably will go up another 3 more times throughout 2019. This is a wonderful time to buy. And I know it's not 3% interest rates, but it's not 6%, 7% either. So at least in the short term, it's there are some seasonal aspects, but it is a good time.
Listen,
to
dude,
buy.
we're on the train. It's going that way, and people are going to take advantage now, and people that do are going to say, "Oh, I'm glad I jumped on the board." But there's going to be a lot of people that it's too high, but they've got a baby and they got to expand their house regardless, and they're going to end up buying a house no matter what. So you might as well buy one now.
I think people talk about rates way too much. Rates are going to be what the rates are going to be. You can't change it. You can't do anything that's going to affect
Here's the
your
reality
rate.
of
right?
the whole rate thing, right? It might affect your payment, like up front or whatever, that you would think you could get a lower payment on a lower rate.
Right.
But people think, for whatever reason, 30 years, right? Like they're going to have this loan 30 years. They do the interest calculation, and it's like, oh, shit, that's going to cost me another like $20,000, $30,000, right? But it's in reality, it's like, okay, you're going to refi in 3 years or sell anyway. So let's talk about your time frame, right? And often people will take a higher rate to get credit towards their closing costs. And it's like, well, I mean, it's all about it makes sense. It's about break evens. And the reality is the rate is what it is.
Do you guys hear a lot of talk about the rates on your side? I'm just curious.
I would say yes, and you can feel it. I mean, especially when it went from 4.78 and it crossed the 5 aspect. There was an initial little bit of a shock, and people just stopped for a second. But already starting working with buyers who have gotten over that, and
that's it. You got to get over it. That's what it is.
It
just got to
doesn't
get
feel
over
good,
it. Right?
but
What's
it
the
is
other
what it
option?
is.
The other option is, do you have $300,000 sitting in the bank to buy this house? No.
You know what it affects.
So you
know what it
have to pay
affects,
him
Brad.
interest on
What
it.
it affects is the guy that's sitting on a house right now who's at 3.25, right? And he's like, "Oh, I'm going to sell this house to go get a 5." That person might be thinking twice about it. Am I right on that?
Yes.
100%. But if it's a 1,200 square foot house in Royal Oak,
And you
and
just
now
had
they
twins.
just got married, and you're like me and just had twins, and your life just changed overnight, you
How
have
old are
to
your
sell.
twins again?
Almost a year, 11
But
months.
the other,
God bless you.
Thank you.
the flip side of that is the guy that's sitting at a 3.25 or 3.5% probably bought his house 10, 12, 20 years ago. No, maybe not 20 years ago, but 5 to 10 years ago, and he's at 3.5% interest rate. But his house has appreciated so much.
He's got $100K. In
He's
equity.
when he sells his house, he's gonna make up for the extra interest he's gonna pay on the new one. So
100%.
It's hard.
it's hard to swallow, but you gotta swallow it. It's
Well, and
Money
when
isn't
rates come
free.
back down, you can refi.
Exactly.
So really, the reality is
They're low. 5-6% is low.
Lock in at
And that's what
5.
you need to convince. You need to educate your buyers on.
It is
So,
low.
it's low.
Anybody listening out there, they're low. Like
They're
they're
low.
and they're going to be higher, and you're going to think, oh,
You're
they
going to be
were
happy
low.
you locked in at 5.
Yeah.
And that message resonates especially with people that are downsizing.
Yeah.
Because they can remember when the rates were super high. So 5
good
doesn't
point.
scare them off too much to downsize, get into something smaller, and okay, fine, it's not 3.5% where they refied, and they took advantage of it. But 5 is not 10.
But
it's okay.
going back to generations and age demographics, it's not the older generation that's bucking that, asking those questions. It's the 40 and under, 50, 45
Because they
and
haven't
under,
seen it.
Right.
because they haven't experienced
Yeah.
that those high interest rates. I mean, you talk to somebody in their 50s or 60s, it's 5-6%. What's the what's the big deal?
Or the
it's
guy
super funny to me that people have no problem having 12 credit cards that they're paying 29% interest on that they'll never pay off, but they can't pay 5% on the
Can't
biggest
fix the
transaction of
world.
their life that's going to be their home. They're going to plant roots. It's
Right. And with the marketing out there, they walk into Bank of America or something and see 4.25.
14
Do I get
points.
ripped off? And there's 2.5 points due at closing. It's like
6-point fonts, asterisk at the bottom.
Yeah, a lot of it, I think, is educating the client. I think that really, if you care about your client, you're good at look. Sales is weird, right? Because sometimes it's hard when you try to push someone in the direction that they should be going into, without having them feel like they're being sold into something, right? But if you truly care about your clients, you should be pushing them to the right decision, right? Because you should, like, if I had a lawyer and just because I thought something was wrong and I was up for murder or something, like, I would want him to tell me what to do. And then people need to trust their counsel.
Yeah, the great agents are good at that. I mean, pushing. We don't use words like that because it does sound salesy.
sounds
We
salesy.
say educate. You
Yeah.
need to educate your clients and get
But they
them
should be
comfortable.
pushed.
But you do. I mean, you need because you truly would know that this is the right deal for them.
Yes.
It doesn't work when you're just trying to do it for a commission.
Correct.
When when you truly believe, like, look, I do this every day. I talk to people and they're a doctor and they're trying to tell me how the market is, and I'm like, listen, I don't come into surgery room and tell you, what goes where. That's not how this works. And I'm not trying to be, arrogant. But at the end of the day, like, this is what I do, and I can promise you, you need to do this now. And A lot of times, if they don't, 6 months later, they call you and they say you were right.
I should've
And a
done
lot
that.
of times, if they do it, they at closing, they're like, "Thank you so much." You know, it ends if you truly believe it's the right, move for them.
You got to care about it.
You got to care. You have to care. You
can't
have to think
fake
about it
that
as it's yourself.
Yeah.
How would you do it if it was yourself?
I always
would
say,
I do this?
I always say if you're my brother, my sister, my cousin, my brother, like whoever you like, if you were that, I would be saying this. And don't mistake the fact that I'm being really passionate about this right now because I believe in this right now for you. So it's difficult to get that across sometimes because people, they have their guard up.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, like with loans and choosing rate or cost or whatever, right? It's like put the options out there. Here's what I would do, right? Here's the consequences of what I would do. Here's the consequences of these other options.
Right.
What one works for you?
Presenting options and absolutely.
All right, guys, we're gonna play 3 questions. You guys
I feel
ready?
like we need a little game show music or something.
All right, like
I'm
a
ready.
game?
No,
Yeah.
focus.
You want to hum something?
No, I don't wanna hum
You got
it.
it. You look good today, by the way.
Thank you.
Did you comb your hair?
I don't know.
You combed it.
I
You did something.
did not.
You look rested.
I shaved.
You shit, that's what it
Yeah,
is.
I don't look homeless anymore as much.
What are you saying about me?
No. You actually have I
yours
can't.
is
I have like the
groomed,
Joe
brother.
I'm
Dirt
using November
type.
as an excuse.
Yeah, no.
I can't grow facial. I've got
Yeah, I
14
can't
hairs that go through my chin.
I shaved this morning.
Paul looks like a billy goat. I'm sure.
I got like a
growing up.
tuft under my neck. It's weird. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm half Arabic, half Greek. You'd think I'd be hairy. So, anyways, okay, here we go. If you could, either one of you can answer this, or both of you can. If you get rid of one real estate law, what would it be and why?
I would say most of the time, the TRID law really doesn't matter, and it usually just holds things up for the buyer or the seller.
On the mortgage side, yeah.
The TRID law, and I know it's there for protection, but I haven't seen it really.
Doesn't help.
No, it doesn't
No,
help.
it's politicians
anybody.
making politics. But
Yeah, it seemed like they made that rule in theory and
didn't work.
not in practice.
Right.
stupid. It was stupid. Wait.
Which part of it? Is the whole thing?
The
3-day-
the
the
3-day
3-day
waiting
Yeah.
period.
Getting the
So
CD
the
out.
audience understands when you buy a house, after you get your numbers and you get ready to close, you've got to get what's called a closing disclosure. Then you've got to wait 3 days after that to actually close. But if timelines are tight, it kind of screws things up.
I just wish there was a waiver, like a rider, like,
Yeah, that
all
would-
right,
good with
I'm
it.
good with 2 days.
right,
Right.
right.
But
Because a lot of times there's a pinch there that
the lenders found ways to essentially get around it anyways. Give me this, we'll go out early.
Yeah.
Right?
Simon, anything for you?
I would probably say, steering. People are always like, you can't steer, and we don't steer. We talk about it all the time, but people ask you questions, and you can't answer some of these things, and because it's opinion, and you're steering them in moving into a different neighborhood. But at the end of the day, going back to relationships.
you're human.
These guys have become our friends. They've become people. They come to us for advice. We do deals in these areas, and they're asking us, how is the school district? How is, how is this street? And you have to tell them to do their own homework. So I think steering is,
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Because you're the professional. They want the information. But, you're right. These laws that we get sometimes, and this is why I asked them, because there's a lot of crazy
Well,
stuff
they're made in
happening.
Washington, not in the broker's office, right?
I think the intent behind the anti-steering is good. Like, you can't aggressively go out and push people a certain way, but the kind of unintended consequences is you can't answer normal questions because it could be construed as steering.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay. You ready for this one? You guys ready? If you could only work real estate in one city in Metro Detroit, which one would it be and why?
Well, for me, and this probably will, I think it'll differ from what Simon says. I live and grew up in Rochester Hills,
Yeah.
so I'd pick my hometown, Rochester.
So you're going to the hometown?
Yeah.
Okay. What about you? Sam?
Why? Oh, because
well,
you grew
you-
up there?
you
Yeah, I grew up there.
Okay.
I love
I don't
it.
know if there was more to it than that.
I love the people in Rochester. I love people all over Metro Detroit, but in Rochester particularly, just knowing it really, really well and being super comfortable with it, knowing the neighborhoods, knowing the people that live in that town, and even the sort of subculture that exists in Rochester and Rochester Hills.
It's a bubble, dude.
It is,
It's
and
a
it sort of
bubble.
feels like a. I
My
mean,
parents had a restaurant there. It's a bubble. You guys are weird. Everybody from Rochester knows everybody from Rochester.
I mean, it's
Like,
totally
and
developed, but it has a
and it-
small town
it-
feel.
It's
and
very weird that
everybody
you live
knows each
there because
other.
you're ethnic and
Yeah,
everybody else is
right.
super white.
Yeah.
Like,
that's how we became friends. We were in 4th grade. We looked
That's
at each
what
other
I'm
like, you have a beard, I have a beard. We should be friends.
that's what I'm
You
saying.
look like me. Let's be friends.
You guys are the only two.
Yeah, you have grape leaves for lunch.
Yeah,
let's
there
eat.
you go.
let's-
Dolma, bro.
hang
Let's
out.
go. That's hilarious. What about you, Simon?
When you look at, we do Metro Detroit is really our wheelhouse. When you look at our deal flow, it's everywhere. But whenever I had clients in Macomb, I loved it because if they didn't get the house that they wanted, there was another one that looked identical to it. Where when you're in like Bloomfield and Birmingham in these areas, it's like they're so unique, and when they lose it, it's devastating.
Yeah.
So for me, I like those cookie cutter type neighborhoods, 300 to 500. You crank them out. But we do a ton of luxury, and it's I love that too. But when you have to tell somebody that they didn't get their dream home, it's really hard when. In Macomb, you tell them they didn't get that home.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, there's 17,000 more getting built. Let's go. Let's go get them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that makes sense. It is funny, I mean, it's just like you said, cookie cutter neighborhoods, and a lot of the people out there like work in the same industry, right? There's people in the auto industry moving out and kind of building those Palazzolo neighborhoods and things like that.
Yeah. All right. Next question. This is the third one. What do you see as the biggest threat to your business?
Well, one of the threats that I think can be offset by managing relationships, building relationships, is the threat to the industry from, that's rumored from Zillow and Redfin, where they are transactional, they are making it robotic, but there's so many moving parts to this process that I just don't see it replacing real humans that have human relationships with each other. I think there's just too much at stake and too much that goes into it. But I think that's probably a threat where, other aspects of society right now are so digital and so online that it almost makes sense that it could go that way and that people would try it. But to me, if you really, really care, you want somebody who also cares about your dreams and goals, working closely with you on every detail of this process, from search to paperwork to closing and beyond.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think you should use technology to accentuate the
Sure.
Yes.
human experience
Right.
as opposed to taking away from it. right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. What about you, Simon?
I look at those companies as opportunities. I did a deal last year. I think it was last year. There was 1 month where I were like 3 deals from Redfin. I was representing on the buy side, and I kind of was asking them questions like, why did you go to Redfin?
Yeah.
Why are you, you're doing stuff for 1%? And all 3 had the same response. All 3 agents was, I wasn't really doing much business over here, so I came here because, they just email me and I go get the listing, right? And I get 1%.
To get fed.
I've been in the business for 5 years and I just really couldn't figure it out, so I went to Redfin. Well, do you want that agent representing you? That
Nope.
guy that because at the end of the
Couldn't
day, what are
figure
we
it out.
talking about? 1-2% on a $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 transaction, a couple $1,000. And now, especially if the interest rates are going up, you're going to be on the market a little longer. Do you really want to hang out with that guy for the next 90 plus days? You want somebody who knows what's going on. So that's when going back to we talk about the interest rates. Those types of conversations are going to be hard for the technology companies to have because they're not training them how to do it, and they're not prepared to do it, and they don't have the relationship with that client to have that tough conversation. So I think it's an opportunity for us, those things. And I'm sorry, I didn't really answer the question. What was give me the question?
What's the
more.
biggest threat to the business?
So I think the biggest threat is just a company that's not willing to evolve. I think that if you don't have a leadership team that is willing to adapt with the changes and constantly be ahead of the curve and watching what other companies are doing, I think it's terrible. I don't think there's one thing out there that's going to destroy us. I think that all those things, it's inevitable, right?
Adaptation.
It's going to change.
Yeah.
So you better be prepared for it, and you better get used to change. And I think that if you're with a company that's not, forward thinking, that's a bad place to be.
That's awesome. Those are all good answers. There's no right or wrong answer. So, to wrap things up, I do want you guys to talk a little bit about, what your growth plan is, what you guys are seeing that your company is going to do in the future. Just talk to us a little bit about what you see, what the evolution of your business is going to be over the next 6 months, a year, 2 years. Obviously that's where we're going.
So it's hard to answer this question because we're way, I'm not saying we're way farther ahead than where we thought we were going to be, but we typically, 6-month goals, year goals in this stage of our business is where we really talk, we really talk about all the time in our office. For us, the next, we obviously want great agents, and that's where we are. And
That's the biggest thing, yeah.
we're being very, very picky on who comes to our brokerage. So we could very easily be at 50, 60, 70 agents in a month. For us, the goal is over the next year to have 36 of the right agents that fit our culture, really take our time finding them. And I believe that with our open floor plan concept, with the right mentality and mindset and a culture, I think that those 36 agents will be as deadly as 100 agents out there. So over the next year is really just kind of honing in, getting those agents on board, making them comfortable with us, making them comfortable with our comp plan and how we do things, getting them to think differently about their business and thinking of themselves as a business. And it's you guys are Greek. You can relate to this. It's the 300 mentality, right? Like I would rather have 300 agents going against 10,000 people than 10,000 agents that we could just get tomorrow, and they just want to tell people they're realtors. So the next year is really honing in on those 36 agents and making sure they're the right fit for
I
our
will tell you
company.
this: Sal and I left your office and we looked at each other and we were like, if I was an agent, I'd like to work. I mean, it was like a cool. Like I was like, this feels good. Like it was like nice walking out.
What
of
else
there.
do you want, dude?
Yeah.
I mean, what else do you want?
I mean, you guys have the best coffee machine I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
It makes for an environment that you like to go to, and it's reflected in the people as well. But we have a collaborative attitude, open floor space plan that we've got going on. So we know each other's deals as far as general situations. So it helps us all grow. And so when we're talking about growing bigger, we're also talking about growing better. And a lot of agencies say that there's training, but what does that really mean? I mean, do they have an actual plan in place for training? At Adobe, we have somebody who comes in and trains us on a regular basis.
Were you watching the feed?
I was watching this. I was driving down the road, and I says, "I'm turning in here to come and
Just so everybody knows what just happened, Tony Raffin, good friend of the team, just
Listen,
walked in.
I brought this boy into business.
So Tony and Simon.
How's it going, John Leonis?
Good to meet you.
So, do you
Guys,
want to
mind if I sit down for
Yeah,
a second?
take a seat.
Oh my
you just
God.
crashed the party. I
Hi,
mean,
Jess. How are you? Oh my God! I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hog your show. I had to come in here and say hi. I didn't know that was you, bro. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
How's it been? 5 years?
7.
7 years?
Yeah.
Time flies. Dude, he's a rock star. I told him day one.
yeah.
Yes, he's the best.
So
Honestly,
Tony was the first brokerage I was at Remax in St. Clair Shores. So my cousin was working with him, and
Yeah.
Tony was our broker.
That's awesome.
So Tony was actually the one I went to all the time for questions.
So this is gonna be good. Tony, tell me one embarrassing story of him when he got started.
I don't have one. No.
I mean, disappointed almost.
Do you have an embarrassing story about Tony?
Oh, yeah.
I do have one thing though that he said to me that I think about to this day, probably on a weekly basis.
That's awesome.
And I'm an early bird, and I walked in one day at like 10 o'clock to the office because I had a meeting. I lived in Rochester and I was driving to St. Clair Shores every day. Traffic was bad or whatever, and I walked in at like 10 o'clock. And I was there for like a week or two. Wasn't there that long. And Tony looked at me. He said, you can't cut it getting in at 10, and walked away.
That's all he said.
And I think about that all the time. I'm like, he's right. You can't cut it. Now, I wasn't, messing around, but I was, I took that to heart. You can't cut it getting in at 10.
That's
He
awesome.
probably doesn't remember it.
No, he doesn't remember much. He's getting old, bro.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's so many. There's so many different things that I say. I don't think I really know a lot of the things that I say because my wife says it. I have Tourette syndrome and what do you? To the second
Verbal
thing-
diarrhea.
Verbal, yeah, no filter, Tony. She calls me.
Asperger's?
Not Asperger's. No, it's definitely not that. But I say a lot of things. But I think it's because the things are in my head. Like you know how I always say the relationship is the most important part. You forget the deal. The deal means nothing because we do those in our sleep. I mean, remember we used to do 1,000 transactions a year, and you just did them. That's just You're not going to tell a cop how to write a ticket. He's not going to think about it. He just does it. You're not going to tell somebody how to tie their shoe. They're just going to do it. Because if I asked you to tell me, we could stand back to back, sit in chairs, and you tell me how to tie my shoe, you can't tell me. You just do it. It's kind of the same way we are. So I tell everybody as realtors, we really only have one responsibility to our client. We don't even have a responsibility to ourselves in theory. We're here to educate and entertain.
That's awesome.
Really, it's the truth. I've closed over 7,000 transactions in my career.
Relax.
We're
You don't
sometimes
need to-
therapists,
Hold on. We are always therapists.
Therapists.
But I've closed over 7,000 transactions from here to California in my life, and I've never sold one home. I heard Simon talking about the Birmingham area, the Rochester area. Everything's different. It's all unique, and it's a travesty when you lose a home. And you're right. You go to Macomb, it's different. So the house will sell itself. We can't sell homes. All we can do is educate you so you can make a good decision and hopefully give you a chuckle in between and make you feel comfortable with us. And
So you're big on the relationship too,
dude,
right?
it's everything, and that's why I always knew he
clearly.
was going to make it. I mean, there were the naysayers. You know, he was too young and whatever, but he always had that drive. And,
like
and
this guy.
I love him. He knows I love him.
He loves him enough to pull over and like pull in here while we're recording.
Dude.
Wow, this
Wild
is,
man on Wildwood.
Yeah, that's why my street, Wildwood. Yeah.
You probably get people calling in and texting during the show. But have you had someone just crash the
First
car?
time.
Yeah, I think it's great.
First time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we've had some
I'm. You know what? Marge Frazier was my instructor in real estate. She was probably the epitome of all teachers. Real estate. I don't think she could ever sell any real estate, but boy, she was always.
teach.
She was the best. God bless her soul. She died a couple years ago. She would always put me at the front of the class because I was always chitty chatty. Dude, I'm a grown man, and she put me in the front. Sit here. It's like, okay, I'll sit here.
Yeah, Adderall was made for you, man.
Yeah, I know. I don't take it though. But she always said the epitome of a good broker is the people that leave his office, not the people that are there.
Yeah, when you can grow great
This is my competition, even though it's not competition. But this
You
is
have a lot of respect for him. That's awesome.
no offense, the fruit of my loins. Okay,
It's awesome that you can
honest to
sit back
God,
and
because
recognize that, though.
I'm so proud of what Simon has done, the moves that he's made, and what he's doing and where he's going.
That's awesome.
He's already a rock star in this business, but he will be one of those long-term guys that stay forever. I mean it from the bottom of my heart,
Thank
brother.
you.
I love you.
Thank you.
There's
Thank
a-
you.
Well,
Thank you.
well, thank you for stopping by. All right. So we are out of time, everybody. Thank you for listening. For
Thanks
everybody
for
that's
having us on
listening,
the show.
please go to iTunes, like, subscribe, share our show. Go to irepodcast.com. Go to Podcast Detroit, Stitcher. What else are we on?
SoundCloud.
Jessica,
SoundCloud.
SoundCloud,
Yeah.
iTunes, Google Play,
like everywhere, right?
SoundCloud.
all the places.
All the places. Jessica, how you doing, by the way? You
Good, how are you?
How about this? Just a bunch of dudes just
Like
fun
a
party.
sausage fest in here.
Yeah.
Man.
On that note, we are out. Play the outro.
Thank you very much. We love being on the show. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
You've been listening to Inside Real Estate.
Tony, what's up,
The
dude?
nation's
You look great.
So good, brother.